Hey guys, how you doing today? Beautiful, beautiful day today. Hope you're out. Hope you're enjoying it. So, stooling around on my feeds, reading the news, all that kind of stuff, and a lot of Israeli-Palestinian conflict started to come up on my feed. A lot of Israeli information and stuff, and I was just like, oh man, why is this happening right now? I don't understand. And so I do a little bit of digging, and oh hey, turns out that Israel has invaded Palestinian lands yet again, as they do through time, and they essentially, let's say, desecrated the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third most highly venerated holy site in Islam, right? The only holy sites that are considered more holy than this one are places like Muhammad's house and like the main gathering place where all of all Islamic people like pilgrimage to. And of course this is happening over Ramadan, right? So it's like extra spicy. People are going to the mosque to pray, to worship during Ramadan, and Israeli forces go in and they blow the place up. Here's some footage, so be ready for it.
القصة في هذه التغطية المفتوحة للاقتحام الكبير لقوات الاحتلال للمسجد الأقصى. قوات الاحتلال في هنا إصابة سابعة إطلاق قنابل غاز بشكل كثيف جدا داخل.
So this leads to the obvious question, okay? What the hell is happening in Israel? Like, what is this story? Now, I feel like our media intentionally obfuscates this, right? They purposefully make it complex. They purposefully make it difficult. They purposefully try to make it so that we don't actually understand what's happening in the region. It's extremely simple, right? America funds Israel to relocate Palestinians in that region so that they can have a military base in the region. If you don't believe me on that, here's President Joe Biden.
I think it's about time we stop, those of us who support, as most of us do, Israel in this body, for apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
So, in 1910, right, a group of Zionist Jews who believe that Jerusalem and Israel is the birthright of the Israeli people, right? They get together and they start purchasing land from the Ottoman Empire, which was still an empire at this time, right? So, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with that. They have the money, they bought the land, right? So, and this is what it looks like, right? These little tiny spots you see all over the map are Jewish encampments, 1910, right? Now, of course, post-World War II, the British and America and her allies, you know, they get into their heads that like, hey, we own the world, we control this place. So in 1947, they expand the Israeli settlements, force relocations of the Palestinians off their land, right? So the map ends up looking a bit more like this. And this process just continues, right? This forced relocation of Palestinians, this forced pushing of people off of their homeland. And so by about the 1960s, here's what the map looks like now, right? I'm sure you've heard of the occupation of the West Bank, right? Like, this is what it is. And this happens during the 1960s. And really, this just carries on until the common day. Like, this is the most accurate information I've been able to find as of 2017, right? This is what it looks like now. You can see the Palestinians are steadily fading out. They're steadily being crushed. And this is from really any perspective outside of like the kooky My Magic Book Says Something perspective, that this is a settler force, or a colonial force rather, right? Doing colonial settling, right? Like, this is what we did to the First Nations people, right? This is what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians, and it's happening in real time. It's happening right in front of our face, and they're completely unapologetic for it, right? Like, here's President Netanyahu talking about the situation.
The core of the conflicts in the Middle East is the battle between modernity and early primitive medievalism.
Right, so it's okay what we're doing because we're modern and they're barbarians, right? They're medieval. They're living in the past. So it's totally okay that we came and took their land, right? Which is the argument that he uses, right? And this is incredibly pernicious inside of Israel, right? If you go and you take a look at Abby Martin has done really great work. She just went around and talked to people in Israel, and they were saying things like this.
The Islam is it's a very bad disease, not just for Israel, for all around the world. We can see it.
I'm in an organization. It's called Lahava. It's against the Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
You can't deal with these people. There's no need to try. There's no need to talk to them. What we can do is when they do enough harm, we retaliate. That's war, and that's the situation that any Jew who lives in Israel has to deal with.
And so why is it important that America has a military base in this region? Well, just take a look at modern history, right? The destruction of Syria, the destruction of Iraq, the suppression of Yemen with help from Saudi Arabia, right? Deposing leadership in Egypt, the destruction of Libya, right? Where's that all happening around, right? Where's that all happening around, right? So they've got a military base in the region. They want a military base in the region. The place has nuclear bombs, for goodness sakes, right? Like, they have a foothold in that region and they're steadily taking it over, and that's the goal. If you do a Google search for a Greater Israel project, you'll see they've got plans, right, for a Greater Israel where they take over like the Suez Canal, right? Remember Evergreen that got stuck in the Suez Canal? Well, they want to take it over. They want that to be an Israeli jurisdiction, right? And this is why the Americans are walking lockstep with the Israelis. It's because the Israelis give them a military foothold in the region. They are allied culturally, they are allied religiously, right? All those evangelicals can really lose their minds about like raptures and all this kind of stuff, and they're tied in with the Jewish population there. And so it's like a match made in heaven, right? They get to destroy the entire Middle East, steal all the resources they possibly can, while committing a modern day apartheid on a populace who literally were there for like 1,500 years, right? My favorite thing to think about is confronting some like Ben Shapiro type who would actually be defending the rights of the Jewish people to be there because they used to have an empire there like 1,500 years ago, and just say to them like, oh hey, so you're cool with like saying we should take seriously a claim that's 1,500 years old, but what about like the black people who you're telling them to get over slavery even though their grandparents were enslaved, right? So like how does that match up? So this is what's happening in the region, guys. It's not complex. It's actually not difficult, right? It's very straightforward. The media wants you to think about it as if it's equal. That's why they report it on it as if it's equal. It's not. One side is getting owned by the other side, right? One side is being supported by the largest military in the world. They have nuclear bombs, right? They have billions of dollars that get funneled into them. And the other side is just a group of people who've been living there, right? So it's very clear cut what's happening. And yeah, we shouldn't support it. Anyway, this is the end of this video, guys. Please like, please share, please subscribe, please comment. I do live streams here on YouTube, 6 to 9 every weekday. I'm doing a podcast, the Socialist Agenda. We update weekly. I'm doing, please go to the website, thecanadiancommie.com. That's how you connect to me always. So if YouTube pulls me down, you'll be able to find me. And my Patreon is in the description. Please donate, please support, right? Us leftists need all the help we get. And just remember, guys, given the insanity that we're all facing with, you're doing wonderfully. You're doing great out there. You're making good decisions for yourself and for the people who are around you. You are a divine being standing on divine energy. We could use some of it right now. Good luck. We're gonna need it.